And after an energetic second panel of this session, we're gonna all enjoy a beautiful lunch and connections and the beginning of afternoon soon. Thank you again, everyone, for being here, giving your energy and attention to all our speakers and yourselves as delegates, because you are the foundations of everything that we do is for all of us, for all of you. So I will call on stage, first of all, Mushka Segal, who is the founder of Chabad of Malta Foundation. Please, under your applause, Mushka is doing a lot for the community here. Thank you so much, Mushka. Thank you. We are as well going to call on stage, because now we need to have as well, like people from Malta. It's so important. So Larissa Bonaci, who is producer and actress. Larissa, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you, Larissa. Thank you so much. Thank you. We're going to welcome now one of, in my opinion, one of the women that is shaping the real estate business in Malta and doing it with her own style and own positive energy, in the person of Grazielle Camilleri. Under your applause, please. Thank you, Grazielle. Thank you very much. Thank you. We're going to welcome as well a woman that is moving and doing so much from finance to sustainability to empowerment and innovation, in the person of Teuta Oruci. Thank you, Teuta. And last but not least, we will have as well, thank you so much, Teuta, thank you. We will have as well a message from our dear friend, Chenesai Mukora-Mangoma, that has sent us her message and her insights, because unfortunately, we have not been able to provide her with a visa between Zimbabwe and Malta. I'm just saying it to you to showcase how difficult and sometimes inexplicable the situation are, despite our energy, messages, and all the things. It's very surprising, but Chenesai, you see, is going beyond that, and her message will be heard today for the women in Africa and the women around the world. Thank you, under your applause for Chenesai. Thank you. So let's get started. Teuta, where is coming from your inspiration to do and navigate those choppy waters of finance and making that finance for good?
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate being here. And I'm so inspired from the previous panel and obviously all the conversations we had this morning. So I feel very humble, trying to pick myself up. I have a very unorthodox journey, as you know. I'm Kosovar Albanian, so refugee. I had to flee Yugoslavia and come to London first. I didn't speak any English. I didn't know anyone, so it was a real kind of blow. So obviously, you had to pick yourself up and kind of rebuild your life. That's another story for another time. But the inspiration really comes from, again, the core values from the family upbringing. Because my dad used to say, as long as you go to bed at night and you can always pass your blush test, everything else is okay. So kind of that really worked with me. So every time I had this choppy waters, the topsy-turvy start of my life, I really recall back to those really, really tough moments. And then, of course, from there on, I was a fish and chips waitress. There's an article which explains my journey from fish and chips to boardroom. But it's again back to that positivity and being humble and being grateful, because my mantra every morning is, I'm grateful for another day that I'm alive. I embrace impermanence, because change is a permanent thing. Obviously, having compassion for others and myself, and embracing wisdom, because every day we interact with people. we embrace that wisdom, we learn. And above all, being in peace with myself. So I'll leave it at that for now.
Thank you, Teuta. Thank you very much. Grazielle.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. My inspiration comes from my daughter. I have a 9-year-old daughter, and her name is Luna. And for her, I'm like her superhero, just like my mother was mine. But only my mother was very difficult with me growing up. The communication was not easy. So my inspiration has always been for me to be the best mother I can be to my daughter and to raise her in a way that is the future of children. So for me, my daughter represents the legacy that we are all leaving, not just as mothers, but as humans. So for me, I strive to better myself every day, and it starts from everything, including training every day, getting myself in shape, eating the right foods, having the right mindset. And it's kept me going even through my most challenging times. I've had very highs in all my years of entrepreneurship, and I've had damn lows right at the bottom. So up until 4 years ago, just after COVID, my husband lost two of his companies. They had to be shut down, and a lot of work to be done to close them down. And all of my businesses stand still as well. So I had to start from the beginning, from scratch, and it was tough. But I looked at my daughter, and I remember there was times where I didn't know how I was going to pay lunch for her, but I said, we're going to get through this. And that's how I got into real estate. So it hasn't been very long, but I've been working very, very, very hard. And I'm up with the A-listers, and I'm loving it, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity, and I'm learning so much. So yeah, my inspiration is my daughter.
Thank you, Larissa. Thank you very much, Grazielle. Thank you. Larissa, please.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here, Jonathan. As an actress and film producer, I've always been fascinated by human beings. Why? Because people are so different. They have different ways of speaking, different ways of acting, different behaviors. We all have different behaviors according to the location that we are in. When we're in school, we're students. Right now, here, we're being speakers. So we all have all of these different hats that we put on throughout our lives. And as a kid, I always wanted to tell stories. It was a passion of mine. So I do get my inspiration from everyone in this room, from being human, because our behaviors and the way that we project ourselves in the world can have a real big impact. We all have something great to offer. We just need to tap into that. And I hope that with my films and with the way that my production company is moving along, I can be a little part of this change that we're trying to create within the world.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mushka, where is coming your inspiration?
You know.
Yes, I know.
Hi, everyone. My first inspiration would be my mother. I come from a large family. I'm number 9 out of 15, so... growing up in a large family, my mother was always working. Together with my father, they were leaders of a community where we lived back in Israel. Seeing her juggling between all, never feeling that I'm missing something because I'm one of 15 or because my mother is working or because they're leading a community, gave me the inspiration to go ahead and do what we're doing now. 12 years in Malta, we established Chabad of Malta, and we're leading the Jewish community here in Malta. On top of it, as Chabad organization, who initiated this Chabad worldwide organization was the Rabbi Schneerson, and he had very certain way to look at women's power. Because as we can see back even in the Torah, the Jewish studies, Women were never on the back, but rather they were in the front. When God came to give the Torah, he first gave it to the woman and then to the men, because he knew if he wouldn't make it up with the woman, nothing's going to work out. So first he made sure that the women are with him, and then he moved on to the men. Even in the creation of the world, we see that the man was created from earth, the woman was created from the part of the body of the man. So our first, our initial state was a bit higher, but we're not about putting higher or lower, but we know that in Judaism it's about each one has their own place, their own agenda. So we're not trying to be equal, we're not trying to be on top. We need to remember who we are, our place, our strength, and use who we are in order to make the world a better one.
Thank you, Mushka. Very much. In terms for each one of you, as we say earlier in the other panels, to do what you do, you have to face some challenges, and you have to find the resources to overcome them, to be where you are now, and to be empowered and free to deliver and to impact the world positively. Could you share briefly those type of burden, obstacles, behaviors that were, maybe trying to limit your access or your capacity to channel your journey toward your dream, and then how you overcame that? Teuta.
So I will go back to when I first arrived to London. So as I say, I was very young, I didn't speak English, and the only way I could support myself was waitressing. And immediately that survival instinct kicked in, because although I was really struggling, I didn't know how to pick myself up, I was obviously in my victimhood stage, I was still counted as the lucky one because I escaped the war. So I had the duty to be successful and make every day count. So how did I do this? Obviously, funny enough, the waitress where I was obviously waitressing in this restaurant in London was full of a Jewish community. And most of them were accountants. So that's where the inspiration came from, because they said, you have it, all you have to do is obviously apply yourself, and they encouraged me to start my accounting studies. Believe it or not, I didn't even know what accountancy is, because back in Yugoslavia, we had bookkeepers and accountants, and economists, sorry. Accounting as a profession did not exist. So I signed up for this completely blindly, because prior to this, I was a medical student. So I thought this should be much easier because it's only numbers. So when I I attended my first class, again, believe it or not, I walked in and it was law. So I sat there for 3 hours, literally completely lost. I did not understand a word they said. I was too embarrassed to leave. My ego didn't let me do that. But eventually I sat through it, and I was too ashamed to leave. And eventually I sat down, burst out crying in the steps, because I just did not know how I'm going to do this. I don't speak English, I don't know anyone, I don't have any money. So it was a real struggle. So each and every day now, I do thank that little Teuta who had the guts to pull through every single day when it was just unbelievable, and I just felt stupid and everything was against me. So doing this every single day, because I think every step we make in our life adds up to where we are today. There is no such thing as an overnight success. Every single day, the decisions we make, we own them. So for me, I'm glad I persevered. So it's tenacity, passion, really, which kind of keeps us going. And eventually, I started working for a charity in London. I started learning English. I learned how to turn on a computer. And then other kind of thing kicked in. I said, if I'm going to be an accountant, I'm going to be the best one, because again, competing with yourself. So I decided to apply for positions in the city. And of course, even then, this is back in 1995, they laughed you out of the room. I did not go to Oxford, I did not speak proper English, and I did not have any connections. But again, was that stupidity or bravery? I'm glad I did what I did, and I wrote to banks myself. And as you know, I luckily enough landed my first job in the city with Schroders at the time, which was an investment bank. And they took me as a wild card, because even for them was a great risk. I wasn't a standard candidate. And I was very happy, I was very grateful, and I obviously learned every day, and I qualified 4 years while I was with them. I learned everything I could do, because I'm a passionate learner, except the other challenge kicked in, an imposter syndrome. Because I felt like I did not belong there, I felt like I didn't deserve this. So every single day I thought somebody's going to tap on my shoulder and tell me that I need to be out. So that was another challenge, which obviously as I moved on my career and I reached board level CFO after 27 years in the city, so trust me, I'm not a child, I'm 53 years old, I proudly declare that. As I kind of continued with my career, every single day I felt like I did not belong there. So during these 27 years, I also am a mother, a very proud mother. So despite being whatever I achieved, as you say, in finance, it's actually motherhood, which is my biggest proud moment. And raising 2 children while working in an investment bank, that was the toughest part. Because you had to work till midnight, even when I was 8 months pregnant. There was no excuse. And even after I had my baby, I was still breastfeeding. I had to leave her and go back to work. So there are quite a lot of kind of stories behind what we see every day. But I guess every single day we get up, we do our best, and sometimes we have to put our professional plastic smile on.
Thank you, Teuta. Thank you very much. Thank you. Grazielle.
How inspiring. Of course, we all have challenges. I've had my fair share. And one thing I've learned in my life, which I can share, is that I've always learned to deal with the things that I can control and solidify those and let go of the ones I cannot control. So what I've been working on my most of my life, especially the last 5 years, has been on my mental health and well-being. And because what's happening is, it is a time of change, as our friend here was saying. There's a huge shift in consciousness. There's lots happening. There's the wars happening. And all we can control is how we feel within and how strong we are and how sane we can be amidst all the torrential storms. So whatever culture we're from and whatever country we're from, the most thing we can work on first and primarily is ourselves. So that starts from the morning rituals, like walking, running, breathing, meditation, all the foods that we eat. I've been monitoring and changing all the foods I've been eating to be able to maintain a higher frequency on a daily basis and to be able to spread even better frequency to others when I need to use it for healing. Because apart from the property industry, I do a lot of healing work with groups. It's a passion of mine. I have a crystal business also. So we've been learning about crystals, how we can use crystals to alter our frequency, to make our energy fields better and stronger, and to align the misalignments, because illnesses come from being misaligned. And my passion, it has also become, apart from the real estate, to see new wellness centers being open. And that is not the old-fashioned way of healing people, but healing through healing traumas, through plant medicine, and speaking with different shamans across the globe on how they have been implementing their health. So that's something that I think is the future. And so to get back to the question, work on ourselves, because once we start healing ourselves and strengthening ourselves, there's a ripple effect to our immediate family, our colleagues. I see ripples happening around my work from the moment I've started. Everybody has a different mindset, and their families and their children. So it comes from us and each and every one of you here in the room. And I'm sure you agree that once even you have a simple conversation with someone who touches your life, even just one little it changes things. And you just have to keep working that way, and it's continues.
Can I have some energy, please?
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing, Grazielle. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Larissa, highlight a little bit, the journey when you want to be a producer or an actress and doing things, moving things in Malta and in Europe. What are the challenges and how you overcame them?
So I want to start off with a little story. About 10 years ago, I came back from Malta after I was studying acting. And I said, it's great to be in Malta. There's a lot of opportunities. However, I would love to expand my horizons even more. So I was speaking with a colleague of mine, and they told me, you're too old now to be an actress. Your looks will fade very soon. And for producing, you need to have a bit of business acumen. I would just stay here, do a few acting roles, have a family, which is fine, right? It's great. And I thought to myself, this is something that I would never tell anyone else, whether they're men or women, right? But was it targeted to me because I am female? And it got me thinking, I have a power here. I have a tool, which is film, which can inspire, which can travel, which can create experiences in people. And I can use my creativity to create more awareness with certain topics. I love all kinds of films. My favorite films are horror films. But it's very different. Even though with horror-themed films, you can still create change and experience and excitement. So obviously I did not listen to that, and I still left Malta. I still come back to Malta. I love Malta. It's my roots. It's my inspiration. However, going abroad and having those experiences and meeting with different people from different societies, from different walks of life, has just really opened up and broadened my journey as someone who wants to make an impact with film. So that was one of the challenges, in the sense of getting over myself in my head, because I have my self-doubts. What does it mean to be a producer? Am I a producer? Do I deserve to be a producer? Yes, I do. I can take a seat at that table, and I can speak as eloquently, and I can make business deals as anyone else in the room. I do find that it is slightly challenging within our industry to secure finance, because I do find that certain counterparts are taken a bit more seriously. However, I look at myself as well and say, what can I change? What can I improve? And how can I make an impact once I walk into that room? So I do look at all aspects of gender, and not necessarily because we are men or women. But I'm very proud of being a really small representative in the filmmaking world, because producers, directors, those key roles, we only find about, let's say there were only about 4% of companies in the 250 most grossing films that actually hired women in key roles. So I want to change that. And we saw that in Cannes as well this year, where even Cate Blanchett said we need to have an open conversation where both men and women are involved. It's not just about women, it's men. We are in a world where we're all working together. So I think that one of the most important lessons that I've taught myself till now is that I just need to be unapologetic and and just go for it. And it doesn't really matter what happens along the way. As you said as well, Grazielle, you failed and you got up again. And that's just testament to just being a human being.
Thank you. Thank you for this beautiful story. Thank you. Mushka.
Okay, so I think that as strong as we are, some of our powers could be our challenges. For example, women, one of our biggest power is our heart, our emotions. We can reach hearts, we can reach to people, we can make connections. We can do much more with our hearts, but our hearts could be also our challenge, because as higher you go, as more risks you take, the bigger your company would be, your leadership would be. You need to make hard decisions. You go through many challenges, and your heart could hold you back. I always say it's a miracle that don't do anything to me, but women are married to men, because you always need this mind voice putting your heart a bit in control. Although we know that each person has the ability to have the intellectual overcoming their heart. And in certain times, you just need to put yourself back and have this control over your heart, not let your emotions overtake and hold you back from making strong decisions, from standing in front of many challenges. We know the world is going through very difficult times. Every year you have new challenges, and as leaders of community, and even if as a private person, you could go through different challenges, and remembering this, that we should not let our heart put us back, but remember that we have the power to overcome. In every step in life, we always, what helps me is to think, where am I needed? Not only to run after what the moment of desire is, but if Jonathan told me I need to be here, so I'm here, right? Although I had my daughter's celebration this morning, so I was a bit late, but where I'm needed, that's where I am. And I had one more point. And I think that I was speaking about my mother, but me personally, thank God, I was blessed also with a nice growing family. And I think sometimes people might think that family is something that holds us back. It's something that it's either family or career, either family or you move ahead. But I think it's the opposite. The family gives us strength, the family gives support. It's in our hands to give the family the feeling that they're part of what you're doing, to share with them the successes, to share with them the impact that we have on the world. So they're proud of their parents, their mothers, who at one side give them the most that they can, but on the other side make great impact on the world and make the world a better one. So it's about, once I heard this, for like juggling. So when you juggle, you always have these two balls on your hand and one on top, and we always, the family, the career, and everything in between, we always need to make sure we hold it strong and to make sure we give each one the right attention, to do the balance, to do it in the best way.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. If it's possible, we're going to pass the video of Chenesai Mukora-Mangoma. Thank you, Chenesai, for watching us from Zimbabwe.
Hello everybody, Makadini Henyu. That is Shauna to say, how are you all doing? Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to join you in Malta. I wish I could be there in person, but this is a story for another day, where we start talking about freedom of movement in our global context. Today I am happy to be here to talk about women in governance. I'm going to center my brief discussion around women in local governance in Zimbabwe. So I am from Zimbabwe. I live in Marondera in Mashonaland East. Marondera is mostly a farm community. And if you look at the Zimbabwe population generally, you have 52% of our population being women. So it is very apt and very important that we have these conversations about what is happening with women in governance. Our work, as we start to discuss women in governance, is about change issues. What barriers are we pushing? The social, the cultural norms. And when we look at the legal frameworks, what are these legal frameworks presenting? And finally ending this with a call to action. How can we strengthen our mandate together to further the agenda of more women in local government? So when you look at Zimbabwe contextually, before the colonial era, you had a lot of women in political participation. You have the likes of Mbuya Nehanda, very well-known matriarchy in Zimbabwe for her fight for freedom for Zimbabweans. You then went to the pre-colonial era. In this era, a lot of women shifted towards the more domesticated roles. They spend more time at home, and then come independence, there was another huge shift. At this shift, we saw more women joining the professional careers. So we saw an increase of Zimbabwean women going into medical fields, into the engineering fields, into the legal fields, and less concentration of women in politics. Now, if you look at our legislative framework, Zimbabwe's 2013 constitution imposed a 50% quota for women's increased participation in parliament. Now, this quota at 50% did help increase the numbers at both Senate and national level. So at national level, you had an increase of about, 31% in women in national parliament, and then at Senate, 45% increment. At the local level, there is a quota, an amendment to our constitution that increased it to 31% participation. Now that is actually interesting because the legal provision and the practical implications of women participation in local governance is very low. Now, let's talk about some of the barriers that we might start identifying why women are not participating in local governance. This is what we are saying is an opportunity for systemic change in the running of our local communities. You have issues of violence, intimidation. At localized level, it's very close to home, and women are expected at that point to be homemakers. They're expected to be at home. You have very little economic independence of women at that level. So of the 52% population in Zimbabwe, you could say maybe 5% are economically independent enough to run for these offices. You have the big one, social cultural values. So our social norms, our gender norms have always pushed women to be more domesticated, less aggressive, less politically inclined. And this is very much more prominent at a local level. And this walks me into our call to action. It's very important at this point to figure out how we might catch this early, including the girl child, the schools. How do we demystify this idea that local governance is only for men? How do we increase women's participation in local governance in Zimbabwe? How might we start working together, building programs, and understanding the social and economic context in which we find ourselves in? I'm very happy to have joined this conference, and I look forward to deliberating on these issues of how might we increase women's participation at local governance in Zimbabwe. We find at Chenesai Africa this as an opportunity to improve our society, to improve the functioning of our local times, and then to feed into systemic policy and legislative framework at national level. Thank you very much. Siyabonga, maitabasa. Bye.
Thank you, Chenesai. We love you, and we look forward to seeing you very soon in Malta or somewhere else where we can receive a visa for women changemakers. Thank you for sending your thoughts and your energy to us. Maybe in 1 minute for each one of you, I'm sorry to say, could you highlight what is your current endeavor, what is your current actions that drives you, and then we're going to have the concluding remarks. Please, Teuta.
Knowing that I'm standing between you and your lunch, I will be very quick. For me, it's sustainability. Because obviously, as a CFO, you had to fit a certain look and feel, and you had to fit in the society. But sustainability was something I was always passionate about, but I had to hide it because I was called a tree hugger. So eventually, finally, I managed to, again with age, you know you're enough. We have nothing to prove. So really step out into your true purpose. And being a parent, being a mother, for me, it's really about the future generations. So my call to action for everyone in the room is that we become regenerative leaders. What do I mean by that? Is that forget the technical skills. By the time we finish university, they are already obsolete. The world is changing so fast. We have to have technical skills plus emotional intelligence. And by that, I mean your three brains. Connect your brain, your heart, and your gut, just like you said, Mushka, as well. And that is the future. And above all, just be true to yourself. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, something very similar. For me, my drive is to be one of the few people who will be helping to raise awareness about the new superhumans. We're becoming a different type of superhumans. Forget the past. We are in a time of change, and we need to adapt to change. So like the chameleon, we need to adapt to what is happening and learn how to rise above it and be the new superhuman. And that includes working from the heart in alignment with our intellect, and if need be, involve AI as well, and everything that's coming along, and aliens landing, and everything. So let's adapt, let's be ready, because it's going to be a really rough but fun ride.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dream, inspire, act. What am I doing? What is my act? At the moment, I'm in development for a documentary called La Force des Femmes with Suad Dibi, who was here last year. And this is to celebrate the resilience of women, specifically in Morocco. But we're also looking at, thank you.
Thank you.
We're also looking to partner with other change makers as well, because I want to develop a series that can travel worldwide, and we can also look at the resilience and survival of women worldwide. So this is a really small step. I also have founded a podcast called What's in a Film, giving a platform for female filmmakers to come on the platform and discuss their career and what they do in film. Thank you.
Thank you, Larissa. Thank you.
Okay, so first and foremost, a mother of a growing family, each child in their own needs, to give the most that they will grow, because we know that the future, that's the most, is our children. When I'm saying children, so leading a community is the wide family, because being leaders, it's like being the father, the mother of the community, making sure all the connections are being done. Each person in their own needs has spiritual and physical, whatever they know, we're always the address for that. In order to fulfill this, we're now actually in the middle of a very historic project of establishing the first Jewish center in Malta, which will include basically the hub for all anything related to Judaism, both for the community and tourists and locals who are interested about the great Jewish history of Malta and generally about Judaism. As part of that, we take care of, as we said, most of our time is dedicated for the future, for the children. We have lots of educational activities. We're on a Hebrew school for the Jewish children. We have summer schools. We have programs for the teenagers, for the adults. Most of our time is there for education. We always have, we also have lots of activity for social gatherings, for cultural gatherings, as well as humanitarian when is needed. And then we have the official part, which is in front of the authorities. That's sometimes the least fun. I like to deal with people who are in the same level as us. But thank God we're moving ahead, and we look for a very bright future for everybody, knowing that us as women, we have lots of power in our hand. We take part. I think Chabad is the only organization around the world that has equally men and women enrolled, because every Chabad center or branch is a husband and wife. So we got the leadership just the same, and all the decisions and all the actions are dealt between us. Each one takes their own qualities and their own abilities, and they run it. And I think this, knowing our place, from one side our power, and from the other side knowing to step back when it's not us, when it's not my strength. This is also important, because sometimes when we try to push ourselves too much, knowing in general, not even male and female, in general, knowing what's my strength and what's my weaknesses, and giving place to others who have their strength to give their part, this is what makes the society and the world so colorful and nice. Women are sometimes seen like behind the scene. They feel uncomfortable there with the family. They're not always in the front, but we know, building now the Jewish Center, I saw how much time was spent just on the foundations of the building. And then they told us, everybody told us, once foundations are done, don't worry, now it's going to finish very quickly. Not really, but much faster than the foundations, because the foundations are the strongest part and the most important part of the building. You don't see it, but you need to know it's there, and it's very, very strong. Every day the architect has to come to check the next step, that it's being done exactly the same. He's not coming the same amount of times now when they're building the second and third floor. We, the women, are the foundation of the house, of the family, of the community. We have strength, all this strength. Not always we're seen in the front, but it's knowing that it's us. We have great influence on our houses, our children, and when they go out, they have influence on others. We know that the heart connects to hearts, and when we use our strength and influence as much as we can the circle around us, this goes beyond, and eventually the world will be a brighter future.
Thank you, Mushka. Thank you very much. Mushka, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Mushka, if you can continue, just share one sentence for the women and girls listening to us today.
So I think it's kind of conclusion to remember your top step, to go with the heart, to use all your qualities, never give up, and it's all about us. I think so.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Larissa.
So to all the girls, all the women, all the citizens of the world, I encourage you to be unapologetic. Go get what you want to make change in the world and tell your stories.
Thank you. Thank you, Larissa. Thank you. Grazielle.
To be a woman is a gift. It's a gift, just as it is a gift to be a man. There's no less, no more. It's equal. So with that in mind and looking at everyone as beautiful as you, I'm beautiful as them, really hope for all the little girls out there to really believe in themselves and to see themselves as whatever they want to be. And there's no limit. I wish all children to look at the sky and see that there is no limit to what they can achieve, because it is possible.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Teuta.
And because I achieved everything through other women, I will leave you with Madeleine Albright's quote, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, that there is a very special place in hell for women who do not help other women.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Under your applause, and this concludes. You can stand up, please, for the picture, and we're gonna call as well the previous panel speakers as well in 1 second, so you can do a picture for all the sessions. Thank you so much again under your applause, and then the lunch.